Welcome to the lands of science fiction stories. I wish you a pleasant listening experience.
Aboard the Galactic fleet's flagship, the Vigran, stood Ray's Thorn, a Deathworlder human, known for his unorthodox tactics and unmatched survival instincts. His reputation among aliens was one of both admiration and fear. Today, his resolve would be put to the ultimate test. Ray's gazed across the massive atrium of the Xeron combat facility, where some of the galaxy's most feared warriors were trained. The holographic form of Admiral Tall, a reptilian alien with scales like molten obsidian, floated in front of him, eyes narrowed. "Thorn, do you understand the terms?" Tall hissed, his forked tongue flicking out as he eyed the human with a mixture of disdain and intrigue. Ray's smirked, crossing his arms over his broad chest. "Oh, I understand. You need someone to recalibrate your combat exam, and I'm the only one insane enough to do it."
No armor, no veapons.
"Just me and my wits." Tall's eyes flared. "Indeed. Our training modules have become unbeatable. We've tried every species, every tactic, yet none have succeeded. You humans claim to be the most resilient. Prove it." Ray's grin widened, flashing his teeth. "You got it, Admiral. Let's see what you've got." The floor beneath Ray's hummed as the room transformed. Pulsating energy fields rose from the ground, and the walls expanded, morphing into the chaotic landscape of a barren desert. Blazing suns hung in the simulated sky, their heat palpable. Dust swirled around him as jagged rocks and crumbling ruins materialized in the distance. Stage 1, the scorched fields of Ar-Karash. A voice boomed from above, mechanical and emotionless. "Survive the scorched fields. Your objective is to cross 20 kilometers of hostile terrain. Expect environmental hazards and hostile creatures." Ray's rolled his shoulders and exhaled slowly. "Let's dance." He sprinted forward, his powerful legs propelling him over rocks and crumbling ground. The air was thick, the heat searing, but Ray's had trained on planets far harsher. Suddenly, the sand beneath his feet shifted, and he leapt to the side just as a spike of hardened crystal shot up, narrowly missing his leg. "Nice try, sweetheart," he muttered, continuing to dodge obstacles as more crystals erupted around him. The ground seemed alive, reacting to his every movement. He darted and weaved, his instincts kicking in as he spotted the pattern of the formations. With a swift dive, he cleared the last patch of dangerous terrain, landing gracefully on the other side. Piece of cake. But the test was far from over. Ahead, a shadow loomed, a massive creature with 6 legs and a maw dripping with acid. Its eyes, glowing like embers, fixed on Ray's. He watched as it sniffed the air, its mandibles clicking. Ray's crouched, his eyes scanning the terrain. No weapons. No armor. Just his raw skills. The beast charged, its roar echoing across the desert. Ray's waited, watching, calculating. At the last second, he rolled to the side, grabbing a shard of crystal from the ground. As the beast's acid splattered where he had been standing, he leapt onto its back, using the shard to steer the creature. It bucked wildly, but Ray's held on, directing it toward a nearby cliff. With one powerful thrust, he plunged the shard into the creature's neck, sending it crashing down, its acidic blood sizzling against the sand. The voice echoed again. Stage 1 complete. Ray's wiped the sweat from his brow. 1 down, 2 to go. The scorched desert faded, replaced by a blinding flash of light. The temperature plummeted, and Ray's felt a chill cut through his skin like a knife. The ground beneath him turned to ice, and jagged mountains of crystal rose in the distance. Snow whipped across his face, and the icy wind howled like a beast. Ray's breath formed clouds in the frigid air. Guess we're going from one extreme to the other. Classic. The mechanical voice spoke once more, reverberating through the frozen wasteland. Stage 2, the frozen gauntlet. Traverse the ice plains and survive the storm. Beware the predators lurking beneath the surface. He scanned the horizon, noting the glacial cliffs and the shimmering ice fields between them. The temperature was brutal, but the real danger was beneath his feet. He could see cracks forming as he moved. The ice wasn't stable, and one wrong step could send him plunging into freezing water or worse. He moved carefully, his boots crunching on the ice as he tested each step. The storm intensified, and visibility dropped to near zero. Ray's had to rely on instinct, feeling for the vibrations of the unstable ice. But then he heard it, an eerie low rumble coming from beneath the surface. Something massive was moving, and it was closing in fast. Ray's didn't wait. He broke into a sprint, zigzagging as the ground trembled beneath him. The ice cracked, and he leapt just as a massive scaly fin erupted from below, slicing through the air where he'd just stood. He landed hard, sliding across the slick surface but managing to keep his balance. He could see it now, glimpses of a serpentine body moving under the ice, following him. Its fin cut through the ice, trailing him like a shark. Ray's eyes narrowed as he planned his next move. Ahead, he spotted a narrow gorge between two ice cliffs. Time for some high-risk maneuvers. He sprinted for the gorge, the creature's fin trailing him. As he neared the edge, he jumped, launching himself across the chasm. The ice creature burst through the surface, jaws snapping just inches away. Ray's grabbed the edge of the cliff, his fingers digging into the frozen surface. With a grunt, he pulled himself up just as the creature slammed back into the ice below. He lay on the ledge for a moment, catching his breath as he watched the beast swim beneath the surface, circling for another attack. The wind whipped at his face, and the voice echoed once again. Survive. There is no escape from the gauntlet. Ray's grinned, the thrill of the challenge lighting up his eyes. We'll see about that. He sprinted again, leaping from ledge to ledge, using the uneven terrain to his advantage. The creature lunged, smashing through ice formations and sending shards flying. Ray's moved with speed and precision, using the environment to stay one step ahead. At the base of a towering ice cliff, he saw his chance. A narrow crevice led deeper into the mountain, a path the beast couldn't follow. With the creature closing in, he dove into the crevice, just as the beast lunged, slamming into the cliffside. The impact caused a massive avalanche, burying the creature under tons of ice. Ray's crawled deeper into the tunnel, his breath steadying as he felt the heat from his exertion start to warm his body. He emerged from the other side, finding himself on a high plateau overlooking the frozen plains. Stage 2 complete. He brushed off the snow and stood tall, the chill barely affecting him now. 2 for 2. What's next? The ice around him melted, and the environment shifted once more. He found himself standing on a platform surrounded by towering pillars of alien metal. The sky above was dark, streaked with electric storms. The air buzzed with energy. The voice returned, its tone colder, more mechanical. Stage 3, the trial of storms. Survive the lightning barrage and reach the summit. Ray's eyes narrowed. Of course. Why wouldn't it involve lightning? The storm intensified, bolts of electricity crackling between the pillars. The ground shook as arcs of energy lashed out, turning anything they touched into molten slag. Ray's moved, staying light on his feet as he dodged the first wave of bolts. He could see the summit in the distance, a massive spire covered in energy conduits. The platform beneath his feet was unstable, shifting with each bolt that struck it. Ray's sprinted forward, leaping from one pillar base to the next, his movements precise as he avoided the blasts. The storm grew more violent, and he felt the hairs on his arms stand up as the static built in the air. He rolled just as a bolt struck where he'd been standing, the heat singeing his skin. The path ahead narrowed, and he saw an opportunity. A large pillar, tilted from previous blasts, was suspended above the platform, hanging by a thread. He dashed forward, grabbing a loose cable that dangled from the pillar. With a swift swing, he launched himself up, grabbing the ledge of the spire and pulling himself up just as another wave of lightning crashed down. The entire platform exploded, shattering into debris that plummeted into the darkness below. Ray's clung to the side of the spire, muscles straining. Not bad, but you'll have to try harder than that. The storm intensified, and the energy conduits on the spire flared to life. The entire structure buzzed with power. Ray's knew he needed to reach the top and deactivate the storm before it overwhelmed him. He climbed, hand over hand, dodging bursts of energy as he made his way up. Halfway up, he saw the next challenge, gaps in the spire where lightning was arcing across. He timed his movements, leaping through just as the bolts receded. The metal burned his hands, but he pressed on, ignoring the pain. Finally, he reached the top. The control console buzzed with electricity, and the voice returned, mocking. No human has ever survived the trial of storms. Surrender now. Ray's smirk returned as he grabbed the console's handles, feeling the electric surge course through him. You must not know humans very well. With a shout, He pulled the handles together, redirecting the energy flow. The storm abated, and the sky cleared. Reyes stood victorious atop the spire, looking out over the now silent landscape. Stage 3 complete. The ground beneath him shifted, and the environment faded. He found himself back in the atrium, where Admiral Tull awaited, his eyes wide with disbelief. You completed all stages. Unarmored. Unarmed. Reyes shrugged. What can I say? Humans thrive on impossible. Tull's eyes narrowed. The final test will push you beyond anything you've faced. It will expose your greatest weaknesses. Reyes' grin didn't waver. Bring it on. The atrium vanished, replaced by a dark, featureless void. Reyes felt the temperature drop, his breath turning to mist as he strained his eyes, trying to see through the darkness. For the first time, there was no landscape, no obstacle course, only an endless, empty blackness. The voice echoed ominously around him, sounding less mechanical and more alive. Final stage, the crucible of souls. Face your deepest fears and conquer yourself, or be consumed. Reyes' eyes narrowed as he scanned the emptiness. Conquer myself, huh? All right, let's get this over with. The darkness began to shift, twisting like smoke. Slowly, figures emerged, ghostly silhouettes, their forms flickering as if caught between worlds. Reyes' breath caught as he recognized them. Faces from his past, those he had lost during countless battles, comrades, friends, and even enemies he had faced. Their eyes glowed, hollow and accusing. You abandoned us, Reyes, one of them whispered, a young soldier whose life he couldn't save on a hostile planet years ago. You left us to die. Another figure, a commanding officer, stepped forward, her expression filled with sorrow. You promised we'd make it home. Reyes felt a knot tighten in his chest, but he forced himself to stand his ground. This is a trick, he muttered, his fists clenching. I know what this is. The figures surrounded him, their whispers turning into a chorus of blame and regret. The darkness grew thicker, pressing in on him, clawing at his skin. For a moment, he felt a wave of despair, like the weight of every failure and loss he had ever experienced. The pressure became almost unbearable. But Reyes wasn't about to let it consume him. This isn't real. His voice cut through the whispers. I've faced worse things than my own regrets. I fought, I survived, and I did what I had to do. The figure's eyes burned brighter, and they lunged at him, trying to drag him down. The weight of their accusations pulled at his soul, but Reyes gritted his teeth and pushed back. I won't be broken by this, he roared, his voice echoing in the void. He closed his eyes, focusing inward, remembering who he was. He was a survivor, a Deathworlder who thrived under pressure. His fear and guilt were just another enemy, one he could overcome. He felt his pulse slow, his mind steadying. Slowly, the darkness began to recede, and the figures faded, their whispers turning into silence. Reyes opened his eyes to see the void parting, replaced by a new environment, a lush, vibrant landscape of towering trees and crystalline lakes. In the distance, a massive stone structure loomed, pulsing with an eerie blue light. It was a temple, its architecture ancient and alien. The voice returned, but this time, it sounded almost impressed. You have passed the first test of the Crucible. Now, enter the Temple of Trials and face your final challenge. Reyes exhaled, feeling a wave of relief as the crushing weight of the darkness lifted. Guess they saved the big finale for last. He made his way toward the temple, his steps quick and confident. The closer he got, the more he felt the air hum with energy, the power emanating from the structure both intimidating and intriguing. The entrance loomed before him, a massive archway inscribed with runes that glowed faintly. As he stepped inside, the temperature dropped, and the walls lit up with blue fire, casting long shadows across the chamber. In the center of the room, a pedestal stood, holding a single object, a sphere of swirling light, constantly shifting between colors. The voice spoke again, quieter this time, almost like a whisper in his ear. To claim victory, you must surrender. Touch the sphere of judgment and release your fear. Reyes' eyes narrowed. Surrender? Not my style. He approached the pedestal cautiously. The energy around the sphere was intense, and he could feel it pulling at him, as if beckoning him to submit. But he wasn't one to back down. Placing his hand over the sphere, he hesitated for only a second before gripping it firmly. As his fingers closed around the sphere, A shockwave of energy burst through his body. His mind filled with images, memories of battles fought, people he'd lost, and moments when he felt utterly alone. It was overwhelming, a surge of emotions and pain that threatened to consume him. But Reyes held on, gritting his teeth. No way. I'm not letting go. He fought through the barrage of emotions, focusing on the truth he had learned over his years of survival. No fear could break him, and no past could define him. His grip tightened as he forced the emotions back, grounding himself in the present. The sphere's energy pulsed harder, but instead of overwhelming him, it began to merge with his own, turning from a chaotic storm into a focused surge of power. Rey's eyes glowed as he channeled the energy, feeling it strengthen his resolve. He shouted, pouring everything he had into the sphere. I won't be beaten. The energy around him intensified until it became blinding. The temple walls shook, and the air hummed with power as the entire structure reacted to his defiance. For a moment, it felt as though the world itself was breaking apart. And then, silence. The light dimmed, and Reyes found himself standing alone in the now empty chamber. The sphere, once a swirling mass of chaos, was now a calm, solid blue. He released it, and the sphere floated back to its pedestal. The voice returned, this time clear and calm. The crucible of souls is complete. You have conquered yourself, and in doing so, you have conquered the test. Reyes exhaled, a triumphant grin on his face. Damn right. The temple walls faded, and he was back in the atrium, where Admiral Tal stood waiting. The reptilian alien's eyes were wide, his posture stiff as he took in the human's victorious return. No one has ever completed the crucible of souls, Tal admitted, his voice tinged with both awe and respect. You have proven your strength, Thorn. You have earned the respect of the Galactic Federation. Reyes shrugged, his grin never fading. Told you, humans thrive on impossible. Tal extended a clawed hand. And you, Reyes Thorn, have proven to be our most exceptional candidate. The combat facility is yours to command. Reyes took his hand, shaking it firmly. I'll make sure no one forgets this day. And trust me, we'll turn this place into something no one has ever seen before. As the room filled with applause from the other galactic officers, Reyes stood tall, victorious. He had not only conquered the most challenging test the galaxy had to offer, but he had also proven what Deathworlders were capable of. And somewhere in the universe, the name Reyes Thorn would echo as the one who conquered the unconquerable. The end.